The FBI is the most sophisticated law enforcement agency in the world, relentlessly pursuing the most dangerous criminals. When one of Chicago's worst serial killers commits unthinkable crimes against women, the Bureau mobilizes. The truth they uncover is more shocking than anything they can imagine. Imagine your worst nightmare of what someone could do to a woman. He was such a violent, horrific person inside that shell of normality. He needed to be stopped from ever doing this again. How was like the evil Boy Scout? He came prepared to commit his crime and get away with it. In the Chicago suburb of Hanover Park, 45 minutes outside the city, a police officer visits the home of a distraught man. His nieces, 20-year-old Kaya and 22-year-old Lyora Dane, have vanished. No one has seen or heard from them. The beautiful sisters had moved to the United States from war-torn Bosnia only months earlier. They were the only two daughters of the Dane family. Their parents were deeply concerned because of the war raging in Bosnia. Their father and mother sent them to live with an uncle in the United States to keep them safe from attack. The hardworking girls found jobs in a local factory and moved in with their uncle. It did not take long before they felt cramped by his strict rules and old-world ways. After a few months, they pooled their money and got their own place. They had led very sheltered lives in that war-torn country. Here, for the first time, they felt free. They were bubbly, excited about American culture, eager to go out, make friends, and they were very trusting. They were normal young women doing everything they could to stand on their own and live the American dream. The girls had been laid off from their factory jobs and filed for unemployment. They were last seen by a friend who dropped them off at a shopping center where they planned to fill out job applications. No one has heard from them since. Investigators begin working the case, speaking with everyone who knew them. Family members, the uncle, people they had dated, and co-workers. Is it possible the girls simply ran off in search of a new adventure? Officers scour the sisters' apartment, desperate for clues. It looks as if they simply walked out to go shopping or visit a friend. Nothing is out of place. The only strange detail is that their cat is missing. Perhaps they went away for the weekend and took the cat with them. As the days wear on, that possibility becomes highly improbable. The disappearance grows more and more suspicious. Everyone who knew them says this is completely unlike them. They always spoke with their friends daily. It is extremely unusual for them to vanish without any contact. Their mother and father are heartbroken. Even though their daughters lived in another country, they checked in every week. The fact that their father has not spoken with them makes it clear they have met with foul play. There is another reason for the authorities' deep concern. Months earlier, police in a neighboring suburb began finding the dismembered body parts of a young woman. Her car was found abandoned in Hanover Park. The woman was clearly the victim of a depraved killer, a vicious, evil person who murdered for no reason other than his own pleasure. Local investigators needed help and contacted the FBI. Special Agent Harlan Briggs was brought on to the case. The killer possessed some kind of mental element that allowed him to continue these acts while carefully covering his tracks. Agent Briggs has been working the case for months and knows that in a metropolitan area of nearly 10 million people, it is virtually impossible to track this kind of evil. Yet now he notices a disturbing link between the Dane sisters and the dismembered woman. The woman's car was found not far from the sisters' home, dropped off at an apartment approximately a mile from where Kaya and Lyora lived. Agent Briggs's instincts tell him the cases are related and that something sinister is stalking the suburbs of Chicago. Based on conversations with numerous investigators, they believe they are dealing with someone who has already killed more than one person and is very likely to continue. FBI Special Agent Rylan Cole joins the search for the missing sisters. He and the team quickly focus on two co-workers as possible suspects. They interview two associates, one connected to each of the girls. One turns out to be only a friend. The other is a boyfriend. Both men agree to be polygraphed. Agents hope one of them will prove more than a simple acquaintance, but both pass the tests and are quickly cleared. There is no evidence pointing to them beyond their close social and prior work contacts with the sisters. It is the first of many dead ends. Investigators check everything, yet every lead turns into nothing. The team refuses to give up. Soon, their diligence is rewarded with another potential lead. Investigators discover that while at the unemployment office, the girls ran into a former coworker. The woman told them about a man whose wife had a cleaning company and was looking for workers. Phone numbers were exchanged, and the man was given the sister's number so he could connect them with house cleaning jobs. Investigators believe that the following morning, a woman picked them up in her vehicle and drove them to a house in Glendale Heights, supposedly for the purpose of pursuing the cleaning work. The question remains, who was the woman who picked up the sisters, and what happened to them after they disappeared? It will take months before the FBI learns the answers and begins to realize the true nature of the monster they are facing. A woman's dismembered body parts have been uncovered in various locations. Authorities found her car in Hanover Park, just 1 mile from the apartment of the two sisters who have vanished without a trace. The FBI and local authorities believe the cases are linked and cannot help but fear the worst. By the time the Dane sisters disappear, law enforcement is already thinking they have a serial killer on their hands. Having fled the atrocities of the Bosnian War, the two girls had been in the United States only a short time. One investigator spoke with their father, who described how he and his wife walked them to a bus station. With his right hand, he showed how he waved goodbye. He had family here, so he believed his daughters would be safe. Authorities have almost no leads except one. The sisters had contacted a house cleaning company for employment. A friend believes they got into a car with a mysterious blonde woman. They were picked up for the cleaning job, yet no one saw what happened afterward. The FBI and local police interviewed the friend who told the girls about the work. They learned that the cleaning company is owned by a couple, Donovan and Celeste Voss. When law enforcement tracks down the Vosses, the couple claims they never started such a business. Donovan says his wife used to work for a house cleaning service, but they never started one of their own, and they never spoke with the Dane sisters. He is smooth, almost a salesman. His wife once cleaned houses, yet they insist they know nothing about the missing young women. Law enforcement grows suspicious, especially when they learn that Donovan Voss is already a suspect in the case of the dismembered woman whose car was found near the sisters' apartment. Now he is also connected to the sisters' disappearance. When investigators see his name, they realize there may be far more to this than two girls simply going off with friends. Still, there is no proof that Voss is involved. Authorities keep him on their radar while casting a wide net for other suspects. More than a year passes while the FBI and police struggle to learn what happened to the Dane sisters. They are still searching for a suspect when, 20 miles away in downtown Chicago, the fire department responds to a blaze on Touhy Avenue. Firefighters enter the home and discover the body of 30-year-old Maren Cole, also known as Dorothy. A female victim is pronounced dead at the scene. Thankfully, her 5-year-old daughter was not home and remains unharmed. At first, the fire appears to be a random tragedy. The original examination suggests an accidental fire in which she died, but when the medical examiner releases his report the next day, it reveals something far more gruesome. The cause of death is suffocation. It is not an accidental fire. It is arson. The means of death is particularly violent. Maren had been strangled and sexually assaulted. Her clothes were put back on her body so that people would believe it was not a sexual assault, but some kind of accident. After brutally raping and murdering her, the attacker poured an accelerant on her body and set her on fire. Who is the vicious killer behind this heartless crime? A friend tells investigators that Maren, who is trying to sell her house by owner, had an appointment to show the property on the day of the murder. That morning, she was chatting on the phone with the friend when the prospective buyer arrived. Maren switched to her native tongue so the English-speaking visitor would not understand. She told her friend that the man was making her very uncomfortable. He was supposed to return with his wife, yet he had come alone. The friend asked whether she should call 911. Maren answered that she was sure it would be all right, but asked her friend to call back in 5 minutes. When the friend called again, Maren did not answer. Panicked, the friend dialed 911 and begged them to check on her friend's house. She was too late. At the same moment, the fire department was being called to the scene because of the blaze. Who was the visitor at Maren's house? It seems unlikely that this killing has anything to do with the woman dismembered in Hanover Park or the two sisters who disappeared. It has been 2 years since the gruesomely murdered woman's car was found in Hanover Park. the same suburb where the Bosnian sisters later vanished. Now, 45 minutes away, Polish single mother Maren Cole has been discovered raped, strangled, and burned in her Chicago home. There is ligature on her wrists and trauma to her face from being pushed down. According to Maren's friend, a man had arranged to view the house that was for sale. Despite interviews with friends and neighbors, police cannot identify or locate him. To make matters worse, there is almost no physical evidence from the crime scene. Because the original investigators believed it was simply a death caused by fire, there was no extensive forensic recovery of evidence. Chicago police do not know it, but that lack of evidence is eerily similar to the Dane case that has stumped the FBI and authorities in Hanover Park. The Bosnian sisters Kaya and Laura have vanished without a trace, and investigators are no closer to learning what happened to them. Neither group is aware of what the other is investigating. The FBI's only suspect remains Donovan Voss, whose wife Celeste allegedly ran a cleaning business the girls had contacted for work. Even though Donovan and Celeste deny any knowledge of the company or the sisters, agents are not convinced of their innocence. They keep examining every other possibility, eliminating lead after lead, yet everything keeps pointing back to him. He has to be the one. They dig deeper into Donovan Voss's background and uncover a shocking and sordid past. At the age of 17, Donovan brutally raped and assaulted a 14-year-old girl. Imagine the worst nightmare of what someone could do to a woman, tying her over chairs, shoving her over tables, using poker irons on her, handcuffing her. After endless hours of torture, the girl managed to escape and was rescued by neighbors. Voss served 7 years of a 14-year sentence. He was paroled a year before the Dane sisters disappeared. This deeply disturbing information puts the investigative team on high alert. When you begin examining an individual's background, you start to realize he may not be a one-time offender. Agents suspect that Voss may have killed not only the Dane sisters, but also the woman whose car was found in Hanover Park. Still, they have absolutely no physical evidence linking him to any crime. They search his property and find little to go on. They discover what appears to be blood in some of the cars, but not enough for usable DNA. Without enough evidence for an arrest warrant, the only option is to place Donovan Voss and his wife Celeste under periodic surveillance. For months, they secretly follow the couple. They do not want him to know what they are doing. They want to learn his activities, to see whether there might be more victims. Yet Voss is always one step ahead. He spots the surveillance team and their vehicle in the parking lot where he works. After that, the FBI continues to tail him, but the tables have turned. Voss plays with them. At one point, Celeste drives like a bat out of hell from their house. He jumps out of the car at O'Hare Airport and races through the terminal with a bag in his hand. When agents grab him and open the bag, they find only dowels or something similar. He toys with the surveillance team, treating them like fools. He tells them they have nothing on him and wishes them a great day. During phone conversations, he even says he knows they are listening. He believes he is smarter than they are. The surveillance team tries a different tactic. They send an undercover female agent into the shoe store where Voss works. She tries on shoes and hopes to draw him into conversation. He quickly sees through the ruse and suggests someone else help her. He tells her to say hello to her friends outside in the car. Despite their intense efforts, authorities cannot pin him down. For a long time, law enforcement believes he is the man. They also realize there is no forensic evidence, no admissions, no eyewitnesses. They are incredibly frustrated that although they feel certain he committed these crimes, there is not enough evidence even to arrest him. Do they have the right suspect? If they do, they need to get him off the streets as soon as possible. But if they are wrong, or if a second serial killer is on the loose, there is no telling who will die next. The FBI's task force is struggling to link its #1 suspect, Donovan Voss, to the disappearance of Leora and Kaya Dane, who vanished after seeking a cleaning job. They do not have solid evidence for an arrest warrant. The frustration grows because he now knows they are focused on him as the prime suspect. It has become a game. Though they have watched him for months, they have nothing concrete tying him to the case, and the surveillance has revealed nothing unusual. Is it possible they have the wrong man? 45 minutes away from Hanover Park, on North Laram Avenue in Chicago, firefighters extinguish an apartment blaze and discover something dreadful. Lying on a bed are the bodies of 35-year-old single working mother, Sienna Rivera, and her 10-year-old daughter, Jessica. It is evident from the scene that both mother and daughter were overpowered by one or more people. They were tied with ligature, their throats were slit, and both were sexually assaulted. An accelerant was poured on both bodies, and they were set ablaze. The fire was clearly set to cover up the horrific murders. Jessica was just a little fifth-grade girl, a chatterbox everyone described, the apple of her mother's eye. She was beautiful and full of spirit. Although there are some similarities between this crime and the murder of Maren Cole just miles away, Chicago police do not believe the killings are connected. Crime scenes are often covered up with arson. It is a frequent method of destroying forensic evidence. There is that connection, yet nothing close in victimology or pattern suggests they are linked. Police manage to recover semen from young Jessica. They check it against the DNA of her mother's male friends, boyfriends, and associates. Extensive buccal swabs are taken, but none of the samples match the semen. Chicago detectives are left with DNA, but no suspect. Back in the suburb of Hanover Park, the FBI and their team have a suspect but no evidence. They have no way of connecting the two investigations. Even so, the Hanover team remains convinced that Donovan Voss may be a serial killer involved in the disappearance of Kaya and Leora Dane. Investigators continue their surveillance of Voss and his wife, going so far as to pull their garbage. They meet the garbage truck early in the morning, set the bags aside, and take them. After nearly a year of unproductive surveillance, Detective Tristan Hale finally gets a break. They find a telephone number written in Celeste Voss's handwriting. The girls' names, part of their address, and their phone number clearly recorded. Authorities now have proof that Donovan and Celeste are lying about knowing the sisters. The note also clearly implicates them in operating a house cleaning service. There is a great deal of happiness in the room when the paper is found. Agent Harlan Briggs calls to say they have the note. Within a short time, the piece of paper is flown to headquarters in Washington, D.C. The main suspect's wife has left fingerprints on it. It ties them directly to the disappearance of the two sisters. Yet the investigators' elation is short-lived. Finding the phone number is strong circumstantial evidence, but not enough for an arrest warrant. The paper may not be enough to arrest the Vosses, but it is enough to secure a search warrant for their current residence. Investigators are disturbed by what they discover. The search reveals a collection of weapons, including a small crossbow and a stun gun. They also find combat knives, Rambo-style knives that could easily have been used to cut up a body. The FBI confiscates the weapons and sends them to the laboratory, hoping for something that will finally lock Voss away. Again, they come up empty-handed. They find no blood on any of the items, particularly the knife, that would definitively tie the suspect or his wife to the disappearance of the sisters. After nearly a year of searches and spot surveillance, agents still cannot arrest Donovan Voss. They have never compiled enough hard evidence. They decide to go after the one person they believe can give them Donovan Voss, his wife. They make extensive efforts to gain Celeste's cooperation. Yet even while the FBI tries to crack her, the murders in the city of Chicago continue. Another female victim whose home is for sale by owner is raped and set ablaze, this time on Kenneth Avenue. She is found in the bathroom, severely burned, with forced blunt trauma to the head, and disrobed. It is an obvious homicide with an arson cover-up. There is clear evidence of fierce resistance, a horrific fight. Chicago police finally begin to see the pattern among the three fires. Now they, like the Hanover Task Force, fear a serial killer is operating among them, one who is sadistic and smart enough to cover his tracks. When dealing with serial murders, there are different types. A disorganized killer acts sporadically. The crime scene is a mess. An organized serial murderer, however, needs to control every aspect of the crime. Chicago police and the FBI are still working separately, unaware that each is pursuing a ruthless sadist. Soon, an old piece of evidence breaks both cases wide open, and a shocking videotaped confession reveals Chicago's worst serial killer since John Wayne Gacy. While in the suburbs, the FBI is desperately trying to connect Donovan Voss to the disappearance of the Dane sisters, who have been missing for nearly 2 years. When you are looking at crimes that deal with the ugliness of life and you know who did it, It is extremely frustrating not to be able to put those last few pieces together. Authorities are certain Voss needs to be locked up, yet without enough physical evidence for an arrest warrant, their hands are tied. Agents come up with another idea. A previous search of Voss's house yielded a collection of weaponry. Investigators hope the findings will be considered a violation of his parole for the assault of a 14-year-old girl. One agent personally contacts the parole officer and presents the information about the weapons to the prisoner review board. It works. Agents arrest Voss and get him off the streets. With Voss temporarily behind bars, investigators turn their attention to the woman they consider their best hope, his wife Celeste. When they found the note in the trash bearing her fingerprints, it implicated her directly. Shortly afterward, she and her attorney advise that she is prepared to begin cooperating. Celeste agrees to talk in exchange for immunity. What she reveals is horrifying. Celeste confirms that after the Dane sisters contacted them about a cleaning job, she picked the girls up and drove them to her home. While the sisters entered the house, she stood outside and smoked a cigarette. The two young women thought they were going to clean the Glendale Heights home. They quickly discovered that was not the plan at all. After a few minutes, one of the sisters came running out the front door, screaming. Donovan caught up with her, grabbed her by the hair, and dragged her back toward the house. She continued to struggle and scream. He slammed her head against the front steps several times until she finally stopped screaming and stopped struggling. He took her back inside. Celeste tells Special Agent Briggs that she left quickly and returned that evening to a gruesome sight. She saw a number of dark vinyl trash bags in the lower level of the house and strongly suspected that Donovan had dismembered the bodies and later disposed of them in various dumpsters in the surrounding area. Celeste's confession is a game changer. As law enforcement and the attorneys assemble the case against Voss, the Chicago Police Department has a shocking development of its own. Detectives decide to take advantage of new DNA technology and resubmit samples from their unsolved cases. One of the samples is the semen found in 10-year-old Jessica Rivera. This time it matches someone in the database, Donovan Voss. They have their man. They know they can charge him with those homicides. The DNA link between Jessica and Voss is the first rock-solid forensic piece of evidence that is in every way conclusive of his guilt. Finally, the Hanover Task Force and Chicago police realize that Donovan Voss is the man they have all been hunting. Investigators devise a plan to confront Voss, who has no idea his wife has flipped or that conclusive physical evidence links him to the Chicago murders. The trick of dealing with someone like him is not to insult his intelligence. Play up to it. Present yourself as though he is smarter than you until you pull the rug out from under him. The FBI interviews Voss first. He essentially tells them he does not wish to answer further questions because he has already made statements to law enforcement. After a very brief conversation, they thank him and leave. Detective Baron Quill goes in next and grills Voss about the 3 fire cases. Voss comes out agreeing with the evidence presented by the FBI profiler, yet he will not confess. That indicates to the detective that Voss is playful. He wants to toy with them and is getting some enjoyment from the exchange. Voss vehemently denies any involvement until Quill confronts him with the DNA evidence found in Jessica. They show him the final report indicating a 1 in 32 trillion match and tell him it is either an extraterrestrial from a different universe or him. Voss finally admits that he did it, but he is worried he will be killed in prison for murdering a child. He asks if he can be transferred to another facility. In exchange, he offers the names of his other victims. The goal is not only to get him to confess to the one they already know he committed, but to all the others the FBI suspects and the ones they are certain of. Voss confesses to the rape and murder of 8 women, including Maren Cole in the city. He reveals that he slipped into Chicago to kill them at times when he knew the FBI was not following him. He also confirms the FBI's assumption that he killed the woman whose car was found in Hanover Park, as well as the missing Dane sisters. As a serial killer, Voss was a little different from most. He changed his method of operation. His first 3 murders were crimes of opportunity carried out on his home turf. Once he attracted the attention of the FBI, he moved to a different approach. He no longer wanted to operate on familiar ground. He became like the evil Boy Scout. He came prepared to commit the crime and escape detection. In a chilling confession, Voss freely describes how he assaulted the unsuspecting Bosnian sisters, obliterating their American dream. He raped one girl in front of the other while she was strapped to his workout table, then took that woman upstairs to the bathroom, chained her to the tub, and turned on the water. He claims she accidentally drowned. Take that for what it is worth. He dismembered her, then came downstairs and killed the other sister. Eventually, he took both girls to the basement, cut their bodies apart, and placed them into bags. He describes the saw he used, a tree saw about so long. He began cutting the arms, the ankles, the legs, and then under their heads. The motion was the same as cutting a tree branch, yet it required less force than a tree branch. It is so horrible. The sisters had already endured so much before they came here. They had an opportunity for a wonderful life, and he took it away from them. Hour after hour, Donovan Voss calmly details his reign of terror for the investigators. He describes the homicide of Sienna Rivera and her daughter Jessica. He laid them down on the bed. The mother and daughter came over and lay on the other side. He took duct tape from his pocket and taped the mother's hands behind her back, then the little girl's hands behind her back. It is a horrific act. He describes neither mother nor daughter whimpering, yelling, or complaining, just lying there, still, without emotion as he kills the mother in front of the daughter and then the daughter. There is no emotion at all. He demonstrates exactly how he cut their throats, placing his hand on the back of the neck and then slitting. There were gurgling sounds from her neck. She said nothing. Blood came out. When Voss describes these horrific acts, he speaks as if he is simply swatting a fly. He has completely removed himself. He is evil. There always seems to be some emotion when a murderer confesses. With Voss, there is nothing. It is like looking into a deep, dark hole. Nothing. Voss is convicted of the murders of Sienna Rivera and her daughter Jessica. He is sentenced to death. Later, the state of Illinois abolishes the death penalty, and his sentence is commuted to life without parole. For the FBI and the investigators, Donovan Voss stands in a class all his own. He is one of the worst sexual predators they have ever encountered. He presented himself as so normal. When you looked at him, he was part of the wallpaper, not someone you would look at and say you ought to be careful around this man. What amazes them is that such a violent, horrific person lived inside that shell of normality. There is no doubt in their minds that this individual may have gone beyond being merely evil. This now concludes the statement of Donovan Voss.